Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This time you guys chose the topic I'm going to talk about today, and that topic is the most underrated horror movies. And by that I mean those films that are very good in quality, but they are still very unknown to the public. So with all being said, let's begin. Remember the good old days when you were bored at home, so you would turn your computer and log on Shot Roulette or Omegle to talk to strangers. At that time that never felt wrong or dangerous, but imagine if it did. Well, good thing you didn't need to imagine, since with our number 5 pick, The Dean, you can see and experience it by yourself, since it tells the story of a web shot room creator whose online creation got her demise. This found footage horror film illustrates all that, since the creation of this online chat room by our protagonist that turned out to be a success in its first days. But then the dark side of the internet took advantage of this innocent meet and greet, and our protagonist was a victim of it. It truly shows how inhumane people sometimes are to gain large quantities of cash, and the ugly and disturbing side of the internet that involves all the torturing and trafficking businesses that lurk around it. Also, it shows how people, like individuals that we encounter every day in our lives, might not be so normal and innocent after all, since many of them are the ones who pay for these immoral and illegal services provided by this dark side of the internet, so they can continue to satisfy their disgusting sexual fetishes. If you are looking for a lesser known but nevertheless scary and disturbing depiction of the dangers of the internet, be sure to watch this very underrated found footage gem that will make you not want to chat with anyone online anymore. Let's take another nostalgic trip to something many of us were, or maybe still are, obsessed with, and that is those supernatural shows where a group of ghost experts would go to a location to investigate if it was haunted or not. We all know that 99% of them were all fake, but imagine if that 1% exists and some ghost experts actually experience the real thing. Well, at number 4 we have exactly that, with our film Grave Encounters, where a group of people who work together to fake their supernatural experiences to sell their reality show end up having the real deal. And now they need to work together so they can survive and escape this haunted asylum. What works great in this film is a depiction of this group of people whose career is a hoax, and because of it they are as unprepared for a situation like this as we are. So we react the same way as our Grave Encounter phonies do. It's crazy how a film with such an interesting premise and innovative plot is so unknown. The sinister and dark atmosphere of this asylum brings this feeling of isolation and paranoia to our characters, who with the cameras on act like a team, but as soon as they're off they go their own ways, since their egos and stupidity win over them being able to work together and survive on this haunted location. The haunting occurrences they witness and the fact that this footage looks and feels real are the primary reasons that this movie frightens us and remains in our minds, to be a reminder not to go explore abandoned buildings we know nothing of. The horror that comes with making autopsies is something that for many of us is horrifying and disturbing, but are nevertheless necessary. In our number 3, we are going to talk about the Autopsy of Jane Doe, a horror film that displays the unexplained autopsy of an unknown corpse that is more mysterious than what our protagonists think. The uncertainty of making this autopsy right and discovering what killed this innocent girl is what our two main characters are facing, since in every step they undertake in the autopsy something goes wrong. But what's horrifying is that they can't scientifically explain what is happening. So their belief on the supernatural starts to overcome their scientist brains, and so they begin to think that this innocent girl isn't so innocent after all. The reasoning behind the story of this strange dead girl is something our characters only speculate, since they can't seem to find any accurate information about her. And that is driving both them and us insane, since we want to know as much about her as our characters. This mystery builds tension, and this tension is not broken through the entirety of the autopsy. So as soon as the supernatural occurrences start to happen and this tension is finally broken, it scares us in a way that we will never forget the fear behind an autopsy of an unknown body. Family drama is something very usual to be explored in horror, since it exploits the darkest feelings and emotions we can have towards people. And in our number 2 film, Oculus, we have exactly that. One brother and sister whose parents tragically died when they were young, and the only thing they can blame for their parents' death is this mirror that they used to have. We have 2 timelines in this film, something Mike Flanagan, the director, loves to do. We have the past, where it starts from the acquirement of the mirror to the explanations of the death of the parents. And we also have the present that are now about the brother and the sister who are now adults, and they acquire the mirror back to their now home so they can destroy it. The psychological powers that this mirror has on our characters, especially our brother and sister, are so bizarre and incomprehensible that we don't know if it's just hallucinations our siblings have in response to their PTSD of the death of their parents, or if it really is the mirror toying them around until it drives them insane to the point of killing themselves or even worse, each other. This uncertainty of the supernatural element of the mirror is a key point to this film and is what the horror is centered on, since we view the many incidents the siblings have towards this mirror that can be explained with previous trauma, but can also be explained with the horror powers of this mirror, which is what the siblings are trying to prove for the demise of their parents. Once again, we have a horror film that centers itself on a haunted house attraction on Halloween night, something that many of you may know is one of my greatest passions and dreams if you've seen my Halloween video. And at number 1, we have no exception on this thematic, with Hellhouse LLC. The most underrated horror film I've ever seen, as it's fun, interesting, mysterious, and overall scary. In this found footage, we delve into the opening night of this haunted house attraction that created the biggest incident and tragedy by getting more than 20 people killed in the basement of this building, and by having had unexplainable occurrences that no one to this day can comprehend. We are introduced to this group of friends in the beginning of the film who have acquired a building who was once a hotel, and now they want to turn it into a haunted house attraction. The making of this haunted attraction is all documented by the friends of this group, and during this making they already start experiencing some bizarre stuff, either with the scary props that they have or they bought for this haunted attraction, or with the objects that already existed in the hotel. The mystery behind the basement is the main focus of this film, as during the making of this haunted attraction, the supernatural happenings all come from the basement. But that still doesn't spook our characters enough to cancel the opening night, since they need the money and they have worked so hard to the point that quitting was not an option. So our curious nature is finally fulfilled when we view with our eyes to what truly happened in the basement and what made these 20 people get killed in this haunted attraction. And after it, we wish we never knew for how devastating and unsettling it all was.